What is up, weather enthusiasts? I'm your host, Pat's Path Predictor. Let's get right into the weather. Alright, so here's the situation we have for you, ladies and gentlemen. We have some new stuff we want to go ahead and talk to you guys today about. Here's the situation that we have right here. We're looking at some potential tropical development happening in the next couple of weeks or so, according to the Climate Prediction Center. So we're going to go ahead and start with this today, and then work our way through with the modeling, the ensembles, as well as all the conditions that we're paying attention to, and then we're going to neatly wrap this up in a nice little bow. So with that being said, let's jump right into it. Here's the Climate Prediction Center, what they're forecasting. This was posted about 3 days ago, and we now finally have access to it. Let's go ahead and talk to you guys about it right here. So for the week of July 31st to August 6th, so we're kind of around that late July, early August window that I was kind of referring to in my last video on this. We now have a greater than 20% probability of tropical cyclone formation happening in the parts of the western main development region, the Lesser Antilles, and Greater Antilles right there, encompassing the Hispaniola, Puerto Rico, Jamaica, and half of Cuba over there, as well as the entire portion of the Lesser Antilles. So that's what we're paying attention to right there, and we've been seeing these forecasts starting to uptrend a little bit right there. What they're kind of anticipating is that one of these tropical waves coming off the coast of Africa and then starting to organize and develop as it moves through the main development region, and this will be happening also in an area of above average rainfall across much of the tropical Atlantic right there. So we're going to have to pay close attention to that as we get more details. Let's go ahead and show you the dry air that we're looking at right here. We're already seeing a very moist environment in the western half of the Atlantic Ocean. This is one of the most moist environments I have seen in a long time, and this is typically something you don't see for July right here, ladies and gentlemen. The Sahara dust is not as spread out as it was before. It's a lot more concentrated in this part of the subtropical and tropical Atlantic over here, and it's not nearly as much as what we were seeing previously, and that's what the main thing I've been concerned about, because I've been showing you guys all of these data, all these models, everything like that, showing, hey, the Sahara dust is dropping off is way ahead schedule, and now we have some data from the Climate Prediction Center to kind of back that up a little bit, which I think is pretty interesting to take a look at, and it's definitely something you're going to have to pay very close attention to as we continue to get more information, ladies and gentlemen. So with that being said, back to the Sahara dust, not nearly as much as what we were seeing last year or 2 years ago, as I've been kind of saying like a broken record. But at this current point, I have to emphasize this because the fact that we are seeing this little Sahara dust compared to the last 2 years is very alarming, because number one, you don't see this much of a drop off of Sahara dust until probably the first or second week of August, and it's July 19th right now, and we're already seeing this, and we're already starting to see signs of a much more active ITCZ, or intertropical convergence zone. You're starting to see that in the main development region. What that's doing long term is allowing for the MDR to get more moist, and it's allowing for that for it to kind of mix out a lot of that Sahara dust over there. So definitely something that we're going to have to pay attention to, because what the Sahara air layer typically does is it suppresses the tropical activity because it has a ton of dry air with it. And as you guys know, tropical systems do not like dry air. If it gets into it, it either has to fight it off, or it'll choke it or the dry air will choke it to death. That's typically how these systems go. But in the meantime, what we're seeing right here is a much more moist main development region than what we were seeing previously. Matter of fact, I want to go ahead and try and pull up the climate models right here, the CFS Weekly, and see if I can get the precip anomalies from this right here. Yeah, what you're seeing right here is a much more active intertropical convergence zone right here than average, seeing much more rainfall over there, which that's going to end up moistening the atmosphere, and that's what I'm so concerned about. And then as you start to move into late July, early August, you start to see much more moisture start to ramp up across much of the MDR, the Caribbean, and all those areas right there. Definitely something you're going to have to pay attention to. And I want to check the CFS monthly over here right now, just to kind of get gauge of what we're looking at when it comes to rainfall, at least when it comes to more moisture than average. I mean, then and also the CANSIPs as well, because I want to pay attention to that as well. Here's the CANSIPs that we model that we have pulled up for you right here. Oh, sorry, ladies and gentlemen, Siri made a a slight appearance. In case you guys didn't catch that, I do apologize for that. But in the meantime, what I am showing you right here is the CANSIP's moisture. It's showing the total cumulative precipitation anomaly, which is in inches, and we're seeing multiple inches higher than the average right here across the main development region, the Caribbean, and even the western Gulf of Mexico over here for the rest of this month right here. And this was posted on July 1st right here. And kind of what we're looking at right here with much of the data that we have right now, it kind of has verified it quite a lot based off what I'm seeing, and it's kind of concerning to see because what we're seeing is a pattern that is ahead of schedule, at least from the average, and it's going to continue. And matter of fact, this whole white right here is your Sahara dust right here. That's your average moisture right there, which is typically not very much, but you're starting to see slightly above average moisture anomalies across part of the region over here. It's at a few isolated spots, but overall, the fact that we're seeing this at all should be raising alarm bells right away. So with that being said, and with my rambling going on about the dry air, let's go ahead and show you the dry air forecast to kind of see what the Sahara dust will do, and we'll also show you the anomalies with it to kind of show you just how much more moisture there is than what we were seeing on the typical average tropical cyclone season. So let's go ahead and show you the moisture forecast right here. You see this huge area of Sahara dust, not as huge as what we were seeing even last year right here. What we've been talking to you guys about on the Pat's Path Predictor channel has been now about half of the Sahara dust is now pushing towards Europe instead of moving into the subtropical and tropical Atlantic, and that's expected to continue, and that's expected to increase in volume right there. We're now going to start seeing potentially a situation where we're going to start seeing 60 or even 75% of the Sahara dust, instead of going into Africa, pushing into Europe, and then by the time we get to late July, that Sahara dust may start to just kind of be blocked out from going into the Atlantic Ocean over there. And what that typically means is that, hey, the tropics are open for business and things can start firing off very quickly, especially when we have the Madden-Julian oscillation on the way to the tropical Atlantic, which, by the way, we will get to in just a second. But here's what we have. We're going to see one last plume of dust moving through a bunch of the Caribbean Sea over there, but that's pretty much going to be the last hurrah, in my opinion, right there. There might be another plume that moves through there. In fact, there is another one that will do it just shortly afterward. But in my opinion, this looks like the Sahara dust is going to continue to go down, down, down. And the Sahara dust, which is kind of the last line of defense as of right now, because the wind shear has been trending down, down, down. And that's been doing that, and what less wind shear means is more potential for tropical activity. That's kind of how it works in the tropics. But the fact that we're seeing less Sahara dust now on July 28th when this is forecasted, that much less of it. Let's go ahead and show you the anomalies that we're seeing right here. There is way less dry air across much of the tropical Atlantic and subtropical Atlantic than there was last year. This is how much moisture, how much precipitable water the anomaly has more than than average. What this typically tells you right here is, essentially in layman's terms, the air is much more moist than average, and there's much less Sahara dust than average. We've been saying it like a broken record here on the Pat's Path Predictor channel. You've been hearing it quite a lot here, but I like to emphasize this because really what we have right here, you have a wind shear pattern that has been oscillating up and down, up and down, up and down, and you're seeing a lot of these areas where outside of an isolated 50-knot barb right there of wind shear, you're not seeing the 60-plus knot wind shear in the tropics we were seeing in early June anymore. You're just not. And matter of fact, let's go ahead and show you the wind shear forecast for you right here. And that wind shear, again, it's going to oscillate up and down, but by the time we get to July 25th, we start to see a much less amount of wind shear across much of the main development, and especially the western main development region, the central main development region, as well as the Gulf of Mexico and a few other areas right there. Again, there's always going to be fluctuations with the wind shear, but the fact that we're going to start seeing a very favorable wind shear pattern and a more favorable moisture pattern in the main development region, that is a recipe for some very concerning developments, and that's why the Climate Prediction Center is tagging this as a potential area of interest at least 2 weeks from now. We don't know the tropical wave it'll be associated with, so we'll have to hold our horses there and keep you updated here on the channel right now as we get more information. NHC will definitely be on top of this. They are definitely on high alert, especially considering the activity that is to come, so we'll pay attention to that here on the Pat's Path Predictor channel as well. Let's go ahead and show you the Madden-Julian oscillation very quickly, just as soon as this thing actually pulls up for you guys right here, the MJO. Here's the MJO pattern. It did retreat more so out of the more active phase into the more quiet phase. Right here, that's what this big circle represents right here. However, it's moving at a very fast rate towards the Western Pacific and then the Western Hemisphere over there. And I showed you the forecast a few days ago where the MJO, starting around late July, starts to show up in the western half of the Gulf of Mexico, western half of the Atlantic Ocean. And then as we get to like the very last couple of days of July, it spreads across the entire main development region. And that's when I think we're going to start seeing the NHC tagging a few things here and there, because what the MJO does is it increases convection across much of the tropics right here. That's what it typically does. And again, it doesn't factor in wind shear, it doesn't factor in moisture, it doesn't factor in vorticity, but it factors in the fact that it's going to be we're going to see a lot more convection across much of the tropical Atlantic, and it's going to factor in the fact that typically, the best way I can describe it to you in layman's terms is if you have the MJO over you in your region, you're likely to see tropical activity. It's not you're more likely to say the very least. Not to say, oh, it's automatically likely. You're more likely to see it. We're going to see a very active pattern happening, and the MJO is going to be perfectly aligned. You're going to see the wind shear continue to go down, down, down. You're seeing much less Sahara dust than what we were seeing last year, let alone 2 years ago. That felt like a luxury right here. This is how much more precipitable water we have in the atmosphere than what we were seeing, than what we were looking at least compared to what, comparatively speaking, from 2 years ago. Again, there is a general dry pattern right there, but the Sahara dust would typically what you would see, at least right here. Now, you're probably wondering right now, Patrick, man, you're spending too much time on the Sahara dust. Patrick, man, you talked a little bit about the wind shear, but we still don't understand what we're looking at right here. Please explain to us what you are talking about. Well, here's what I'm talking about, ladies and gentlemen. What we're seeing right there is we're seeing an alignment. Essentially, we're seeing all the ingredients come together with what we're potentially looking at with this hurricane season, and that's why I'm talking to you guys today, because let's go ahead and show you the global sea surface temperatures. Global sea surface temperatures are absolutely off the charts, ladies and gentlemen. What you're seeing right here is something you don't typically see until early to mid-August. It's July 19th. And we're seeing 30-plus degrees Celsius across the majority of the Gulf of Mexico. Again, we did see this last year as well, so there is also that fact. We're also seeing a lot more 30-plus degrees Celsius waters. There's a huge area of 29-plus across much of the Caribbean Sea and all that. However, the fact that we're seeing this warm water, and the fact that we're seeing how deep this water goes, is pretty crazy, especially considering what we were seeing just a couple of years ago. Let's go ahead and show you the climate reanalyzer. We're seeing that surge happening once again of the global sea surface temperatures across much of the tropical Atlantic right here. The climate reanalyzer, we're at 24.4 degrees Celsius. We're only 0.1 degrees behind right now from 2023's numbers. And you see the average right there, and you see the standard deviation. We are well above this, both of those statistics right there. It's been like that for the last couple of years. Even 2020, it wasn't as warm. Even in 2020, we did not have this much OHC across much of the tropical Atlantic. But the fact that we're seeing this now is pretty concerning, because what that is going to end up doing is it's going to fuel more tropical cyclone potential to happen, and it's going to fuel more hurricanes and potentially allow them to rapidly intensify faster. Let's go ahead and show you the SST anomaly map right here. This is why you had 20 named storms in an El Nino year last year, because these insane anomalies of SST temperatures crushed the El Nino. Because, yeah, that was a pretty strong El Nino from last year. But this was way stronger, ladies and gentlemen. As a matter of fact, now that you might mention it, let's go ahead and show you the ocean analysis, because we're seeing more trends that are kind of pushing us closer and closer to a La Nina. Here's what we were looking at with the region 1 and 2 index. It did kind of jump back quite a lot as we got into the first and second week of July, but now it's trending way the hell down at this current point. So, yeah, it's going to be pretty interesting how this whole thing plays out, because just a couple of weeks ago, we were around the average in regions 1 and 2, and that could be attributed to an increase of the water temperatures across Colombia, Ecuador, and parts of Peru. And another thing I'm paying attention to is the 7-degree change right here in the Western Atlantic, because that area right there is where a lot of the accumulative cyclonic energy is going to be. And that's really concerning, to say the very least. The fact that we are seeing pretty much the western half of the Atlantic Ocean continuing to warm up. Again, more probability for rapid intensification, more probability for hurricane development. That's something to pay attention to right there. Regions 3 and 4, here's what we're seeing. We're still seeing that downward trend. We've been seeing it for the last few days right there. We're down comfortably below average at this current point in time. It's still in a neutral phase. It has to be minus 0.5 to be considered a La Nina. Region 3 has been kind of oscillating up and down, up and down, up and down for the last couple of weeks or so. So we're going to have to pay attention to that. But it is on a downward trend right now, so we're going to have to keep an eye on it. Region 4, though, has been pretty interesting, because Region 4 has been very stubborn. It's been stubbornly above El Nino for several months, and now we're down to neutral at this current point, and it's trending even further down, and we could see a point where Region 4 goes neutral by the time we get to early to mid-August right there. And that right there, coupled with the fact that we're seeing a down trend of the Region 3 over here, could allow this thing to go into La Nina, at least atmospherically. It's not going to be officially declared a La Nina unless it is happened for over a month, so I just want you guys to keep that in mind. But the fact that we're seeing all this stuff happening all over the place is pretty insane, to say the very least. And what the La Nina typically does, what this change from El Nino to neutral to La Nina does, as I've been saying before, is it weakens the trade winds, and it weakens the wind shear that goes with it. That's why you're seeing this wind shear going well below average, ladies and gentlemen. Matter of fact, I want to pull up the wind shear anomalies right here just to kind of see what's going on. There is a more sheary trend right there, and that's going to persist for a little while. However, it's going to trend down as we get into August, ladies and gentlemen, and that's what I'm paying attention to at this current point in time. Last thing I want to go ahead and show you is the ocean heat content, and I want to make this very brief, because the OHC continues to climb. We're seeing areas of 175 plus OHC across much of the Caribbean. Before, it was a few isolated spots. Now we're starting to see we're starting to see even more of these spots, and that OHC is starting to grow in size quite a bit. Because, like I said before, OHC, hot temperatures, how deep they go down. That's pretty much the layman's terms version of it. We're not getting into the dynamics of it. But the point of the matter is this. It's insane to see this much OHC. Matter of fact, let's go ahead and go back to July of 2020, just to show you what we were looking, because July 2020, I thought these numbers were insane back in the day. July 19th, 2020, let's go ahead and show you that. Yes, you saw, that's what you're seeing right there. But a lot of the OHC surge was concentrated in the Western Caribbean Sea right there. And we were not seeing nearly as much OHC in the main development region or in the Gulf of Mexico. Now in 2024, and let's go ahead and show you that. This is 2024. We're seeing the Gulf Stream really ramp up. We're seeing a nice little eddy ramp up right here with OHC. And we're seeing well over 100 OHC across much of the main development region. And matter of fact, we've cracked 150 OHC across the loop current on July 19th. That typically doesn't happen until mid-August. So this is why I'm concerned about it, and that's why I'm telling you that these things have the chance to intensify at a faster rate, and these tropical systems can develop at a greater amount, ladies and gentlemen. We're seeing the weakening wind shear. We're seeing the OHC go up. We're seeing the water temperature go up. We're seeing what else? Oh yeah, we're seeing the Sahara dust go down. All of this is painting to a very active hurricane season. That's why I'm concerned about it. We'll keep you updated here on the Pat's Path Predictor channel, but until that time, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you are new. It helps us out, helps us get more videos out like these. The goal of this channel, as always, is to get more people engaged with weather. If you want to come hang out with us at Storms United, be sure to join our Discord server. Link to that is right over there. And with that being said, have a wonderful day, guys. Stay safe.